Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Bob Schieffer sitting in tonight for Dan Rather. The tragedy in India only gets worse. It has been 3 days since a cloud of poisonous gas from an American-controlled pesticide plant swept through the city of Bhopal. In that time, the number of dead and injured has swelled beyond imagination. One Indian news agency today put the number killed at 2,000. Another said that 50,000 were injured by the disaster at the Union Carbide plant. Our coverage begins with Wyatt Andrews in India.
The rising counts of the dead and the suffering continue to stun Indian officials today as rescue workers fanned out throughout the city, finding more and more bodies of the victims, some of them dead 2 or 3 days, and there may be more. The sheer number of dead, uncovered corpses, most of them human, some of them animal, now poses more of a health risk to the survivors of Bhopal than the gas leak itself. So many bodies simply can't be buried or cremated fast enough, and health officials are worried about an epidemic. But now the questions begin. Among them, why was the death rate so high among those who live directly outside the plant, while only one worker inside the plant died? And why were so many people allowed to live so close to the plant at all?
We need to remember that the disaster wasn't a disaster just because of a failure of the plant itself, but also because there were hundreds and indeed thousands of people living right by the plant. And that's a failure of design, if you like, a design of planning that rests not just with the company, but also with the state government.
Already, the state government in Bhopal has appointed a commission of inquiry to investigate what could become the world's worst industrial accident. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News, New Delhi.
The enormity of the tragedy and the misery in India is continuing to unfold. Even the survivors are victims. 20,000 of them may face blindness, sterility, crippling nerve damage, and mostly lung disease.
There's absolutely no antidote and absolutely no treatment available for this type of chemical.
With so many people dead, with so many suffering the after effects, it is the worst industrial accident in history, and it is touching off many questions. How could it happen? How could so much deadly gas leak from the Union Carbide plant?
We have no information on that, and it would be 2 to 3 weeks before they would be able to make a determination.
The National Safety Council says the chemical industry has the lowest accident rate of any industry in America, but accidents nonetheless do happen. In Omaha this year, hundreds of people were evacuated when potentially toxic gas escaped from a storage tank. And in Linden, New Jersey, 3 separate chemical spills in the past 2 months alone, causing nausea and dizziness, but no serious injury.
You're getting symptoms like abdominal cramps, chest pains, that type of stuff.
But could what happened in India, a major disaster, happen in the United States? Some experts say yes, that there are no regulations controlling underground storage of chemicals, like the leaking tanks that claim so many lives in India. So what are the American experts telling the American people?
I'm telling them that they are no more protected by government regulations, by enforcement, by checks and balances, than the people in India.
I think we're being lulled into a false sense of security. When it comes to these plants, we assume the plant is innocent until proven guilty. Perhaps after this accident, we should have exactly the opposite attitude.
The killer is a chemical called methyl isocyanate. He was on the team that helped develop it.
Frankly, I was absolutely stunned. I could not believe that could even occur, even in Bhopal.
It happened in a country where tragedy and misery have long come with the territory. But given the possibility for human error, for human negligence, given that experts are saying it really could happen anywhere, India today doesn't seem nearly so far away. Bernard Goldberg, CBS News, New York.
New American aid to combat the famine in Africa was announced today. President Reagan said that 300,000 metric tons of wheat from federal grain reserves was being released for shipment to Ethiopia and to other African countries. He also announced the transfer of $50 million for emergency food distribution. American relief workers who were in Ethiopia, the country hit worst by the famine, have just arrived in Rome and talked to Richard Roth. Here's his report.
Much of what they saw in Ethiopia surprised them. During the past week, traveling to refugee camps and feeding centers, a team representing the New York-based Catholic Relief Services recorded scenes of joy. Said an American who's just come back, the world's generosity is starting to pay off, and these children are the proof. A priest who visited this orphanage at Korem in northern Ethiopia said he was greeted with affection. They kissed my hands, he said. They wanted to kiss my feet. But by officials' latest reckoning, the arithmetic of famine still defies belief. 7 million are starving in Ethiopia. 300,000 have died in the past 9 months. Hundreds a day are dying at emergency feeding centers. At one refugee camp visited within the past few days, the Catholic agency said, the flood of people was so overwhelming there was no time to register all the new arrivals. Only the dead were being counted, their burial shrouds made of sacks which had carried the food that came too late to save them. The death is ubiquitous, but for an anguished mother desperate to revive her lifeless child, it is no easier to accept. Relief agency experts say the Ethiopian government has begun moving thousands of people away from areas of famine to be resettled on more fertile land. Some relief workers say the government's real motive is to empty towns and villages where rebels had been gaining popular support. But the Catholic relief representatives who left the country yesterday said they had been gratified to see supplies getting through and people being helped. All we need now, said one, is the political will to maintain the effort, and more food, more money, and more time. Richard Roth, CBS News, Rome.
Can you help me with these Canon personal copiers?
Oh, yeah, they're terrific. And you know, they copy in 6 colors.
I know.
Well, the entire copying process is in this cartridge. Look, so you can maintain it yourself.
I know.
This one even reduces and enlarges and makes copies up to legal size. I ought to know. I'm Jack.
Oh, I know.
Well, if you know all about Canon PC copies, what do you need me for?
Mm-hmm. Over here.
You should have known. For information, call toll-free.
This Remington microscreen shaves as close as a blade or your money back. Look, no cord. It's rechargeable. It never needs a cord because this convenient charger stand keeps it continually charged. The Remington microscreen shaves as close as a blade or your money back. Here's why. The first screen shaves incredibly close. The second screen even closer. The Remington microscreen rechargeable shaver shaves as close as a blade or your money back. And the Lady Remington rechargeable, the perfect gift, shaves without a cord.
President Reagan had the new Republican members of Congress in for coffee and jelly beans today, and he told them their first year in Washington is going to be tough because they'll have to, quote, take the lead and the heat in helping him cut federal spending. Then he met with his cabinet and told them the cuts he wants, and Leslie Stahl has details on that.
President Reagan has approved a plan to cut $34 billion in domestic spending for fiscal 1986, and according to a high-level source, has also approved cuts of $8 to $9 billion in the Pentagon budget request. At a cabinet meeting today, department secretaries were told that some programs and even entire agencies would be completely eliminated over the next 3 years, including, according to sources, legal services, revenue sharing, Amtrak, and the Small Business Administration. Student financial aid would be capped at $4,000 per student. Farm price supports limited to $200,000 per farm. Cost of living increases in all benefit and pension programs except Social Security and Medicare would be eliminated for 1 year. Child nutrition programs and Medicaid for the poor would be reduced. Pay levels for civilian government workers would be cut by 5%. Most other government programs would be frozen at current levels. A government source says that Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger in Brussels has been told of the president's decision to slow the growth of military spending. And according to the source, he is not happy. Budget Director David Stockman went to Capitol Hill to brief congressional leaders on the plan, which the Democrats say may have some problems.
I think if the budget they send up is perceived to be unfair, and that is to put all of these sacrifices at just one part of the budget it's not likely to be accepted.
Many of the Republicans who were briefed winced at the depth of the reduction package. One was heard muttering, "These cuts give new meaning to the words, bah humbug." Leslie Stahl, CBS News, the White House.
The Supreme Court heard arguments today in a case that will be used to decide whether lending public school teachers to help out students in religious schools can continue, or whether this practice must stop because it violates the constitutional separation of church and state. Fred Graham reports.
There's no mistaking that the children at Holy Name Academy on New York's Upper West Side attend a Roman Catholic school. But in another classroom down the hall, special remedial classes in reading, English, and math are being taught by public school teachers paid with federal education funds earmarked for poor neighborhoods.
I'm not involved in the religious aspect of the school at all.
In Grand Rapids, Michigan, it was the state that paid the public school teachers who taught in the religious schools, and they taught a wider range of subjects: remedial math, remedial English, art, music, and physical education. The lower courts declared both programs to be unconstitutional taxpayer support of religion, and the Supreme Court will now resolve the issue. Supporters of these programs say they go to great lengths to avoid religious entanglements. Religious symbols are removed from the classrooms where public school instructors teach, and sometimes the rooms are even leased to the public schools.
We even had a card in the window which said, "This is a public school classroom," during the time that we had it for leasing.
The supporters argue the effect is to educate children, not to advance religion.
To me, it would be really unfair to parents of those students, just because they elect to put their child in a private school, Catholic school, that they should be denied these services. It should be the same for all children.
The basic decision facing the Supreme Court is whether this use of taxpayers' funds is just an innovative way to educate children or an unconstitutional use of public money to support religion.
The danger in these programs, then, is that they will become, at a secondary level, assistance to the religious education provided to children, and that the state shouldn't be doing.
In the court today, the justices appeared to be almost evenly divided. It's unlikely that the justices' decision affecting these children will be announced until late in the spring. Fred Graham, CBS News, New York.
In Honolulu today, the policy-making body of the American Medical Association overwhelmingly passed a resolution calling for a ban on amateur and professional boxing. AMA President Joseph Boyle said there is hard medical evidence now that people who are involved in boxing are involved in producing brain injuries. Acceptance of the resolution means that the AMA will encourage its members to push for state laws banning the sport.
Los Angeles, California, first place.
Winner is Chablis number 3.
Sacramento, California, silver award.
Year after year, wine tastings are held across the country.
Chicago, Illinois, gold medal.
And year after year, one wine continues to appear at the top of the list.
Warwick, Rhode Island, first place.
The white wine judged best in tasting after tasting.
Washington, D.C., first place.
The Chablis Blanc of Ernest and Julio Gallo. From Ernest and Julio Gallo, all the best.
Here's denture wearer Danny Thomas.
Now, I love a good cigar, but I hate the darn tobacco stains it leaves on my dentures. So I use Smoker's Polident. This baby's the only cleanser specially made for the job. Look, we'll take half this tobacco-stained denture. Now watch Super Strength Smoker's Polident power away that stain and let the clean shine through. See? Like my pal Martha Ray says, Super Strength Smoker's Polident gets tough tobacco stains super clean.
More conciliatory words today from Soviet leader Konstantin Chernenko. In a statement released as he was attending a Moscow political meeting, Chernenko said the Soviet Union, quote, is prepared to go for the most radical solutions needed to end the arms race. He added that Moscow was determined to achieve a major breakthrough at next month's arms talks in Geneva. The statement said that the top priority should be a ban on space weapons. In a related development in Washington today, the veteran arms negotiator Paul Nitze was named by President Reagan as an advisor to Secretary of State Shultz for the U.S.-Soviet talks in Geneva. The celebrated CIA manual for U.S.-sponsored Nicaraguan rebels was back in the news today, and it was bad news for the CIA and its director, William Casey. Phil Jones on Capitol Hill has details.
The CIA director slipped in and out of the Capitol today without talking publicly about the House Intelligence Committee conclusion that his agency's manual to help Nicaraguan rebels overthrow the Sandinista government was a violation of law. House Intelligence Committee members reported that Casey did concede shortcomings in management.
Mr. Casey himself admitted to negligence in the management and control of this operation.
The manual in question was first exposed in the press this fall. It referred to shooting civilians, blackmailing, inciting violence, and neutralizing Sandinista officials. Critics said neutralizing was another word for assassinations, which would be a violation of law. Several mid-level CIA officials have been disciplined, but Director Casey apparently could not be directly connected, and further punishment will not be pursued.
The problem is that every time the Inspector General went up the line to get where the responsibility finally was, the trail seemed to get colder.
Boland would not answer questions on whether Casey should be fired, but another committee member was more vocal.
I have indicated in the past, as a result of other things that have occurred in the with the agency's operation, that Mr. Casey ought to resign.
So CIA Director Casey has survived still another skirmish with Congress, but the warning shots have been fired. Congress is in no mood to let the administration continue its covert war against Nicaragua. Phil Jones, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Researchers in France said today that they have developed a new, highly effective birth control pill. The pill is being used experimentally in Europe, but it's already causing controversy here in the United States. David Andelman has that story.
Scientists are calling it the day-after pill, perhaps the ultimate breakthrough in birth control. Teams of researchers in France and Sweden believe they have hit on a safe and effective technique to stop a pregnancy just days after it's begun. The technique uses two substances. One, called RU486, changes the chemical balance along the walls of the woman's uterus, where the fertilized egg has begun developing. Then a hormone called prostaglandin washes the egg off the wall in a process like menstruation. For years, researchers around the world had been using large doses of prostaglandin alone to induce abortions later in pregnancies. Japan last summer licensed its routine use in hospitals. But that technique is painful, with often dangerous side effects. Doctors say the new technique is neither. It's for the third world that doctors have the greatest hope. A pill that does not need to be taken each day, that may be taken just once if a woman misses her period.
I am confident that for the first time we have a medical method which makes it ultimately self-administrable, and you can realize the importance for the third world.
Nevertheless, for many women and their doctors, the new technique poses some serious ethical questions. Is it contraception or abortion? Right to Life advocates think that, unlike the contraceptive pill that prevents the start of life, this new technique chemically destroys an embryo, a life in its earliest form. Despite the provocative moral issues, most scientists familiar with this technique say it appears to be the least dangerous and most reliable way yet of preventing an unwanted birth. But at least 2 years of clinical tests remain before the morning after pill is ready to go on the market in Europe, and in the United States, it could be 5 years. David Andelman, CBS News, Paris.
5 gunmen who hijacked a Kuwaiti Airlines jet to Tehran claimed today to have placed explosives on the plane. They continue to hold 95 people hostage, including 3 officials of the U.S. Agency for International Development. 1 hostage has been killed, and Tehran radio said today he was an American diplomat, but there's been no way yet to confirm that report.
My friends like the showers better than the pool since I installed Polynex massaging showers. 4 different shower heads. I save up to $190 on water and energy. Powerful jet massage, wide massage, fine spray, coarse spray. And I save even more on the steamy mist shower. The only thing I don't like about my Polynex massaging shower head, I can't get the girls out of the shower. Girls, nothing. Child massage shower heads from Polynex.
Christmas at Sears brings out the child in everyone.
It's over there, Dad.
Save on this Craftsman variable speed drill, dual action pad sander, or variable speed saber saw. Your choice now $29.99.
Come on, Dad.
Save over 50% on this 99-piece Craftsman Mechanics tool set, now just $88. And save on your choice of this touring bike, this racer, or this BMX, now $99.99 each. Wrap up a beautiful Christmas at Sears.
There's more for your life at Sears.
35 self-described politically conservative members of Congress today wrote South Africa's ambassador to Washington expressing alarm at the recent racial violence in South Africa and, quote, the questions raised by it. They added, we cannot condone policies of apartheid which we believe weaken your long-term interests and certainly our ability to deal with you in a constructive manner. And they warned that unless immediate steps were taken, they would recommend curtailing new American investment in South Africa and would organize international diplomatic and economic sanctions. The White House, meanwhile, says that President Reagan will meet with South African Bishop Desmond Tutu on Friday. Bishop Tutu, who just won the Nobel Peace Prize, has warned that there will be a bloodbath in South Africa unless apartheid is ended. South Africa is the subject tonight of Bill Moyer's commentary.
The proof of God's humor is on the face of his saints. They smile with puckish wit, and their eyes dance even in battle. Laughter frightens Satan more than a month of scorching sermons. So Bishop Desmond Tutu is a man dreaded in hell. The bishop doesn't thunder, he twinkles. The winner of the 1984 Nobel Peace Prize descends from African tribesmen. When the missionaries first came to Africa, he told New Yorkers one night this week, they had the Bible and we had the land. They said, let us pray. We closed our eyes. When we opened them, we had the Bible and they had the land. His audience roared. But the government of South Africa is not amused by parables of truth. Blacks there outnumber whites by 6 to 1, but whites hold 87% of the land. Apartheid requires blacks to live in areas where they cannot leave except under rules tantamount to a police state. It's as if the 22 million blacks in America ruled this continent, able by force of arms to confine all whites to New England or California. The American government, hoping to nudge them to change, follows a policy of constructive engagement that avoids outspoken criticism of South Africa's white rulers. Bishop Tutu says this is collaboration, akin to condoning the internal policies of Nazi Germany or the Soviet Union under Stalin. Coincidentally or not, the bishop received the Nobel Peace Prize after it was earlier given to Lech Walesa of Poland. The award, he says, recognizes that those who oppose apartheid are like those who oppose communism, agents of peaceful change. The bishop assumes democracy is the last best hope of mankind and asks America to live up to a high calling. This would indeed require conservatives and liberals to join in common moral calls against repression everywhere, whether practiced by white regimes or black, by friendly powers or hostile, by left and right-wing governments alike. The bishop's wit and gentle ways do not soften his conviction. That flows from a faith that burns as brightly as the light in his eyes.
At the third stroke, it will be 4:33 and 40 seconds.
At the third stroke, it will be 9:13.
I've got a headache this big, and it's got Excedrin written all over it.
I got a headache this big, and it's got Excedrin written all over it.
Excedrin, the big headache medicine. More medicine than any regular strength pain reliever. The most medicine you can buy without a prescription. Nothing is stronger.
Oh, I had a headache this big, but I took Excedrin and it's gone.
Excedrin from Bristol Myers. Excedrin, the headache medicine.
This used to be the only way to get a close professional shave. But now there's the new Schick Total Touch. It's so revolutionary, it promises you that same professional closeness or your money back. Its entire screen is a unique shaving surface, not just the top. Shaves at any angle in any position, making it really effective in those hard-to-get nooks and crannies. This Schick Total Touch is so revolutionary, you may even want to use it at home. New Schick Total Touch. There's never been a shaver like it.
Through the centuries, a wine has evolved with a unique taste, the taste of selected European vinifera grapes. A taste so incredibly delicious it wins awards year after year, every year. A taste that has won the hearts of more people than any other imported wine in history. Bruneti on ice, so nice. If you haven't tried Bruneti, you don't know what you're missing.
We all know that old chestnut about time will tell, but the question in London these past weeks has been who will tell the time, a question viewed with some gravity by Her Majesty's subjects. Well, we're happy to report the question has now been answered. Steve Croft has it.
When I warned them.
England has always been famous for famous voices.
Time runs. The clock will strike. The devil will come. And Faustus must be damned!
But perhaps the most famous voice in England doesn't belong to a politician or an actor. It can be heard only over the telephone. It speaks with precision and authority to 300 million people every year.
At the third stroke, it will be 3:53 precisely.
The voice of Pat Simmons has been coming out of this rickety old machine for 20-odd years. Then someone discovered that parts replacement and routine maintenance were becoming a lost art. Time cannot stand still. In the U.S., the phone company would simply make a new tape, maybe even toss in a commercial. But here, there's an established order of succession. They have a tournament. George V was king when they had the first one.
At the third stroke, it will be 4:33 and 40 seconds.
At the third stroke.
It also requires a voice strong enough to cut through the static on British phone lines. For months now, the British have been culling pretenders. The survivors became celebrities. And this morning, the winner was picked on national TV.
Brian Cobby from Brighton.
It was a bold stroke. Never before had they picked a man. The last time the phone company changed the voice, 20 years ago, this was considered woman's work.
England's most famous clock is Big Ben, not Big Bertha.
And so times do change, even in England.
At the third stroke, it will be 9:59 and 20 seconds.
The British should be able to adapt. The phone company plans no more changes until the third stroke of the 21st century. Steve Croft, CBS News, London.
That's the news. I'm Bob Schieffer sitting in for Dan. Good night.
You know the fiber in Metamucil is good for you, but Metamucil is 50% sugar. Now there's Fiberall. Fiberall has the sugar-free formula preferred by 3 out of 4 doctors surveyed. Fiberall, the laxative fiber of Metamucil. But instead of sugar, more healthy fiber. Fiberall. No wonder 3 out of 4 doctors surveyed chose the formula in Fiberall. Fiberall does everything Metamucil does without the sugar. Fiberall.
It's the magic of the season. It's the best of times to be at Kmart.
Where can you find just what they always wanted at just what you wanted to pay? You guessed it. This year more than ever, you'll find Christmas at Kmart.
We've got it and we've got it good. This Christmas, Kmart, we've got it and we've got it good. 'Tis the season to be jolly.
There are many ways of celebrating Christmas, with tinsel and lights, the Christmas tree, and stockings on the fireplace. But let's not forget what it's really all about. Give the one gift that tells all that Christmas means and more. Give the book, the new easy-to-read contemporary Bible that opens up a new world of understanding. Give the book and unwrap the true meaning of Christmas.
Tomorrow, are America's banks in trouble? And does movie sex and violence lead to crimes against women? Wake up to what's happening on the CBS Morning News.
This is CBS.
Coming up next on Eyewitness News, there may not be enough evidence to have a case against some daycare center workers, while the prison system works on a new plan to deal with its population. Details coming up next.
Come to a land of enchantment. Gather for a country Christmas feast at Opryland Hotel. A bountiful dinner and dazzling musical review for just $17. Only $9.50 for children. Shop for treasures at Opryland Hotel's craft, art, and antique fair. Over 100